Coming up on the Upful Life podcast.
Some Upful vibes. Some Upful vibes, yeah.
And that's what the Dub Cartographer is. It's kind of like, you know, blending my love of dub and reggae, because there's, you know, some pretty reggae influenced tunes, but then also a lot of tunes where I'm collaborating with a lot of musicians that play some pretty exotic world instruments, which also has been a huge influence to me, just bringing in world music and world instruments as much as I can, just because I love that sound so much.
Some Upful vibes. Some Upful vibes, yeah.
I think that is the magic that we have as a band, is the energy and the community that surrounds what we do. Everywhere we go, I mean, we just had a show a couple nights ago, and it's our hometown crowd, and you look out and it's just a love fest. Everyone is hugging each other. Everyone, like, they're listening to the music, but in between they're like catching up with each other. It's a homecoming. That's our hometown crowd. But you go to Jacksonville, Florida, it's the same way. Tampa, it's the same way. Charlotte, it's the same way. It's just like, it's always a homecoming in that crowd, and that energy that they have and the love that they're sharing. And I remember watching the interview on, I'm not sure what show it was, but the Grateful Dead interview that they did fairly recently. And they're talking about the dragon. And it's like the energy that's floating above the crowd and the exchange that's going on.
I love it very much. Many people like it. Where all the girls go.
Let's drink a toast forever and ever. Let's drink a toast forever and ever.
Yes, indeedy. Welcome to the Upful Life podcast. I'm your host, Gov't, and this is episode number 92. Coming at you live and direct from the Vibe Junkie Studios here in Oakland, California. The 9 Deuce on the loose. Yes, indeed. So grateful you are tuning in. Yes, indeedy. I'm so stoked and so proud to announce this sponsorship, partnership, brotherhood with my man, Aaron Schwartz. Aaron Schwartz Art. One word. AaronSchwartzArt.com. Ink paintings on photographic paper. Now, if you know, you know. The dude is a one-of-a-kind talent, and he's never really sold his artwork commercially. It's never been available commercially. But it is available exclusively through Upful Life in partnership and celebration, because Lettuce is back. New album, Let Us Cook, coming in December. New track, you're hearing it in the background right now, Gold Tooth, out now, wherever funk is found. In the meantime, go to AaronSchwartzArt.com. On the left-hand side, you'll see a Let Us Play series. It is 6 separate portraits. Each band member, Adam Deitch, Eric Benny Bloom, Nigel Hall, Eric Jesus Coombs, Ryan Zoidis, Adam Shmeen Smirnoff, and then you got the whole 6 members, one shot. Now, Aaron's artwork, it's in a league of its own. He's a South Florida native. Born and raised in Miami, his medium can be best described as ink painting on photography, not photoshopping. It's photo peeling, because Aaron has mastered his own technique peeling layers of photographs, combining ink and solvents over the photo's remaining image. Each photographic tile becomes its own composition. In many works that Aaron's created, those compositions fit together in a larger masterpiece, such as Let Us Play. The process was discovered over 20 years ago. He was using materials in a rather unorthodox way, and it came together magically. And ever since, he's been creating art with this process, pushing the technique and envelope in various ways. If you get close to the art, you can see and recognize the images underneath the painting. It's in a mosaic style paintings that will take 2 to 3 weeks to complete from conception to completion. Each photo process can take hours to finish. There's a short time-lapse video if you want to check out the process. There's no formal form or any kind of commercial purchase. Aaron would like to deal with people on a holla by holla basis. Check out the Let Us Play series if you like what you see and you want it for your wall. Makes an amazing gift for a loved one, a friend, or a Lettuce Funk super fan. There's a contact button on the left-hand side. Go to that, fill out that little email form, and he'll get back to you in short order. Let Us Cook is the new record. Gold Tooth, the new funk track. Aaron Schwartz, Let Us Play series. Exclusive partnership with Upful Life. How cool is that? Shout out to my man. And to the boys in Lettuce and the whole Lettuce Funk army. Y'all know what it is. www.aaronschwartzart.com. That's AARONSCHWARTZART.com.
Conscious in this time, I'm longing for some upful vibes. Some upful vibes, yeah. And we'll miss the sound system style. Miss the sound system.
Yes, indeedy. Greetings, dearly beloveds, and we're back. Episode 92. That's crazy. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And if you're picking up what I'm putting down on the Upful Life podcast, please like and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Apply pressure to both the like and subscribe buttons. Really helps. Really helps bring awareness to this show. To other souls and other ears out there in listening land. You know what else does? Please rate and review the Upful Life podcast. If you're a listener, you enjoy this show, tell people about it. Preferably Apple Podcasts, that's the most effective. There's also a Spotify episode comment section at the end of each episode on the app. So either of those really help. YouTube comments, whatever. Really appreciate everybody who rates and reviews the show. And please, if you want to drop me a line, I love to hear from the people. Send an email to b.getz@upfullife.com with any suggestions or reflections, constructive criticisms, what have you. I love it when people holler at me about the show. You know what else I love? When people send me a few dollars for making them holla. So if you want to support the Upful Life podcast, upfullife.com. There's a support button right on the top right. Takes you to the Venmo. And if you don't want to use Venmo, just shoot me an email. Like I told you before, b.getz@upfullife.com. I'm sure we can figure something out. Speaking of upfullife.com, if you go over there, it's been a bunch of articles I put up over the past month since the Blair Jackson episode, which I appreciate everybody's feedback on as well. If you go over to upfullife.com, you can see an article, love letter, I wrote about the Roots returning to Oakland and playing a show celebrating the 30th anniversary of Do You Want More? Also wrote something super deep and personal, Meet You by the Witness Tree, Filial Musings from GD60. In the aftermath of the Blair episode, got to enjoy GD60, the whole shenanigans carnival, and wrote up a little bit about that. Both of those you find on Live for Live Music, and then on upfullife.com exclusive, an article with one of today's guests, MORiLLO, all about his new album, The Dub Cartographer. And so I'm super stoked on all that stuff. Please go to upfullife.com, check it out. Follow Upful Life on social, Facebook /UpfulLife, Instagram /Upful_life, Patreon.com, dropping some nuggets in there. Please sign up. Patreon.com /UpfulLife. Now we're going to take it to the underground. Episode 92, digging deep on both coasts. Super stoked to bring two guests that are not connected in any way really whatsoever, and actually just shine a light on both coasts, on different genres, and somehow, redirect some of the attention that goes to the big names to some of the cats on the come up who might have been grinding for a long time but are just starting to break through. And I really pride myself and this show on spotlighting artists of that nature. So let's hear from a couple of them on episode 92 of the Upful Life podcast. This is your Upful Update. I'm your host, B. Getz. Yes, indeedy.
Some upful vibes with Mr. Sound System style. Real good times, yeah, yeah.
Yes, indeedy. It is an honor and privilege, and super stoked to welcome MORiLLO to episode 92. Among my preferred electronic dance floor generals over the past decade, it's high time to tap in with the Dub Cartographer, the global bass sorcerer MORiLLO, based out LA, government name Zach Morillo, also the drummer of international reggae sensations Groundation, and one hell of a drummer, producer, DJ in the electronic realm. He's a modern day dub maestro. And Zach was kind enough to share some of his perspective and experiences with regard to creating his intoxicating latest full-length release, the Dub Cartographer. And we get into this exciting new collaborative chapter in his ever-evolving electronic dance music career. Been a fan of MORiLLO's for like a decade. I've seen him play like the last great Symbiosis in 2016. Seen him on the Playa, the Braxis, elsewhere, Camp Question Mark. I mean, he's really been behind the decks on some wonderful dance sessions all over the place. And like I said, I've enjoyed his performing with Groundation, tremendous reggae band on the scene. So stoked to welcome Zach to the show. Quick bio: with a desire to expand his opportunities across the music world, Zach Morillo moved to LA in 2012, quickly finding work as a touring drummer for acclaimed artists Rye, Childish Gambino, and eventually Groundation. He's traveled the world performing at the biggest and best festivals like Coachella, Red Rocks, Hollywood Bowl, as well as all over the world. He's been creating and developing his own unique sound and identity through music production and DJing as MORiLLO. He's released several albums and EPs all over tons of labels: Gravitas, Moody Music, High Vibe, Tribal Trap, Hybrid Trap, Simplify, Play Me Records, and it goes on. And he continues to build this project. He's been celebrated by dancers and DJs on stages and festivals around the world. Most recently, the Dub Cartographer LP, Summer 2025, has really opened a new chapter for MORiLLO, and we're going to hear all about why, how that is. Coming right up. This is his collab with the dude with the oud that leads off the Dub Cartographer. And we'll wait for him to pronounce the name of the song in the interview. Coming right up, MORiLLO. Yes, indeedy. All right. And I have the privilege and pleasure this morning to speak with an artist I've been a fan of for almost a decade. I was doing some counting, trying to figure out the beginnings of my fandom, and it goes back to 2016. So we're almost at a decade, and I've written about this artist. I've danced on his dance floors. I've seen him perform in multiple projects. So again, welcome to the Upful Life podcast, MORiLLO.
Thank you so much, man. It's great to be here with you today.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Yeah.
Overdue, and at the same time, it's right on time because you have a fantastic album. So let's start with the here and now, because, no time like the present. Where am I talking to you from? Where are you sitting right now?
I am currently in my studio here in LA, my home studio.
Right on. Yeah, I see some drums and recording stuff behind you, some cymbals, all the tools of the trade.
So this is my little sanctuary in West LA.
Right on. And 2025 has been a bit of an intense and crazy year for the city of Los Angeles, including right today. There's a lot happening out your door.
Indeed, yeah. We actually took a little drive out to the protests on Sunday, which was pretty wild, not gonna lie. We got there like minutes after the LAPD announced that they were considering it an unlawful gathering. So shortly after we arrived, they started shooting off tear gas and stuff. So we didn't really hang around too long. But yeah, it's pretty wild right now here in LA.
Right on. Well, much respect for going down there and being a part of it, even if it was for a short while. And obviously, me as a journalist and also this podcast stands in alignment and support with the resistance. So yeah, just keep yourself safe, man, and much respect. Fist in the air.
Yeah.
You know, in times of cultural, duress, division, just when shit gets intense, art really moves to the forefront. I think my whole lifetime, I can kind of like define, eras and times with music. And so when I heard your record, man, I mean, I heard one song first and it really piqued my curiosities. And then you sent me a preview and I was just so blown away because I've been a fan of yours for a long time. And for listeners, you heard this in the introduction, but Zach Morillo here, he's not only just a fantastic electronic producer and composer and DJ, but also a phenomenal drummer with one of the best reggae bands in the biz right now, Groundation. And I've always admired the way you sort of maintain two artistic identities, both authentic to self, as, MORiLLO on drums, like the Instagram handle, and then, of course, your work just as MORiLLO, the producer, composer, DJ. And this album feels like you finally have united the two pathways of creating art. It felt like a real new level for you as an artist, yet it connects to everything you've done in the past. So that's why I wanted to have this conversation, because I was like, wow, he really fucking did it. So from your perspective, what does this project mean to you? Where does it come from? The vision for it, the inspiration and the achievement.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the money there with kind of how this project fits into my trajectory as a musician and just everything I've been doing. It's definitely the culmination of my drumming. My drumming and my production coming together. It's like definitely the best the best project that I've been able to put together, where I've actually been able to, record myself on drums and also collaborate with a lot of live musicians, almost on every track. And it's kind of just been my trajectory. Like the MORiLLO project began as an electronic project, mostly just because of the tools I had available to me to make music. When I first moved out to LA in 2012, I just had my laptop really and a MIDI controller. So that's how I was making music, and just out of, my limitations of my little bedroom studio, the music was, mostly electronic. And along the years of being in LA, I just, slowly started, collecting more recording equipment and gear. And then COVID hit, and, I was receiving a lot of extra money from the government. So I actually ended up finally, investing in a bulk of the equipment I needed to really properly record myself on drums. And that's since COVID, it's kind of been a journey into really incorporating the live drumming into my productions, which has kind of been incredible. And it's also really changed the sound of the music, in my opinion. It's not really sounding like an electronic project anymore. which I'm embracing and I'm really inspired by. And it's sounding more like, almost like a band, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's kind of where the project is at, and this album is just the best example of kind of where I'm at musically and production, and just really trying to embrace my drumming and really incorporating it as much as I can into my productions. And then on top of that, been playing with Groundation, like you said. I've started playing with them, I would say, like 2 years before COVID. I played a lot of reggae music when I was living in Miami, during college and just after college. I love reggae music. Reggae music, I always say, was kind of like my first true music genre love growing up. I really fell in love with roots reggae and dub music in particular. I think just because of the emphasis being on the drums and the bass. I was really inspired by like King Tubby and Augustus Pablo and all the early roots dub music. Yeah, now today in my life, I'm just trying to really embrace my early influences and bring it into my music, and that's what the Dub Cartographer is. It's kind of like, blending my love of dub and reggae, because there's, some pretty reggae influenced tunes, but then also a lot of tunes where I'm collaborating with a lot of musicians that play some pretty exotic world instruments, which also has been a huge influence to me, just bringing in world music and world instruments as much as I can, just because I love that sound so much.
Word. I appreciate you breaking that down from like a, granular perspective as an artist and as a music fan and as a drummer. And I can hear the blending of all the elements. Yet there's a symbiosis. There's like it's not like glued together. A lot of times when people take on ambitious projects where they're cross-pollinating genres and instrumentation, and from digital MIDI workstation, all kinds of different plugins to, ancient world instruments and drums and sounds. It can be a cut and paste thing. It can be kind of like this chaotic amalgamation, even in its ambition. And I don't get that here. Like, it feels like authentic, not cut and pasted, not glued together, but like a living, breathing organism, which is a real accomplishment, because you really did draw from all over the world. And I was going to say, what's in a name? A cartographer, a map maker, somebody who understands the spatial relationship between, water and land and like elevation and all this like core elemental stuff. I was just, it bowled me over, because like then you look at what you're doing and it is such an apropos and perfect name. So how did you arrive at Cartographer, and what is it to you?
Yeah, I was really drawn to the name just because I feel like as an artist, I've always tried to focus on doing just like different things musically. You know, every song I make, I'm trying to do something that I've never done before, or that I feel like I've never heard being done, or anything like that. So that's kind of like, I guess, have been my philosophy as a producer, is just trying to always create music that's fresh and different. You know, I'm never trying to. I really like, if something becomes a trend, I'm like probably moving away from it just because for that fact, you know. So yeah, and then to be totally honest, I got the Dub Cartographer. It was suggested to me by ChatGPT. Which, I don't know how everyone's going to feel about that, but I mean, you know, I was chatting with ChatGPT and just throwing my ideas in there, and I think I said, like, you know, give me some album title names that's an album of dub music and world music and blah blah blah, and it gave me the Dub Cartographer. I was like, wow, that's great. I really love that.
It is such a great name. I don't know how to feel about that piece of information. You know, like, because if the goal in general, and this goes for art, this, you know, I confront a lot of this AI stuff in my own work, you know, with journalism, with writing, you know, like, that's a different pod. But
Yeah.
so I have like some philosophical stuff, and then I also, like, you know, it makes life easier in some ways. I was talking about just sound quality earlier, with different ways I can manipulate the way this conversation would sound. You know, that's AI also. So if the goal, I'm saying, is the best possible product, so for me, it's for our conversation to sound great. Why, you know, of course, I'm going to use the tools available to me. If the goal is the most appropriate, coolest, dopest, catchiest album name, like, that's it. I just told you a minute ago is the perfect album name. It shouldn't change because it came from AI, but it is kind of alarming. Like, wow, that came from AI, but it's so perfect. You might have been able to arrive at it anyway, but it might have taken 2 weeks.
I don't use AI for making music. You know, I'm a musician, so that's what I hold dear to my heart. I'm not going to use AI to make music, but I am not great with words. You know, I'm not a great writer, so I have been using ChatGPT to help me just like come up with just ideas and just, you know, creative, interesting ways to put words together and to come up, you know, with ideas like that. So
Gotta score this one as a win. This is a win for ChatGPT, straight up.
I would agree.
Let me ask you a little bit about the music itself, because, you know, I'm familiar with some of your collaborators, you know, Evan Hatfield, Scott Nice, less familiar with some others. But I myself love King Tubby, love Augustus Pablo. I mean, the early dub revolution is, you know, I still listen to that stuff regularly and have since I was introduced to it. Even maybe more so around the pandemic, I got really into reggae again. Reggae and gospel, which, you know, sidebar, music about God really hit for me during the pandemic. So that goes for reggae and gospel, two areas I was always interested in, but like completely dove into.
Right.
And one of my favorite aspects of reggae is dub, is the concept of dub, is physicality of dub music.
I'm really drawn to the raw nature of the way they made the music. Yeah. Just the overall sound and vibe of it. It's just so authentic, and I just feel like that's what I'm like listening for in music. I want to feel that it's real, you know, that it's almost like you're in the studio with these people.
On that note, you've been posting little reels, short reels of you in the studio making dubs. And I found that really kind of like piqued my curiosity, attention, radar for Dub Cartographer. Was like, wow, Zach's in the lab dubbing it out. Was that sort of part of a groundswell of sort of like energy, sound? You were trying to like, awaken your audience and yourself to.
Yeah, with social media, I've just the nature of music business is you really got to be active on social media. So I'm always trying to find ways to perform on social media, and I feel like performance videos are a way that I can create something that's most engaging. So yeah, and being inspired by more modern dub artists like Pachi Man. I don't know if you know Pachi Man. He's blew up over COVID time doing dub videos on social media, and I was just really love his music, and I was like, I want to try this out because I know how to make dub music.
Never knew how much
So yeah, it's just kind of an experiment to create music in that way, and it's fairly easy for me to do. It's almost like an improvisation, As I started making these videos, it started inspiring me more and more, and then I started bringing in some tracks that I've been working on into that dub setup where I can kind of improvise in it. It was kind of a big eye-opening moment because usually I'll make a tune in Ableton and I'll arrange it and produce it out, and like that's it, that's the end of the tune, it's done. But then actually I found that if I make a tune in Ableton, make stems of it and then bring it into the dub world, it like almost added this whole like another dimension to the production, because it added this like improvisational element to it and created moments in the music that I wouldn't have been able to create if I wasn't like improvising over like almost like a quote unquote remix of the tune, so it was really eye-opening and really inspiring to me. So the first track of the album, called Dub of Suwannee, it was a tune that I made with the dude with the oud. He's this incredible oud player. And I produced out this track where the oud was kind of playing the whole time as the lead instrument. And I was like, this sounds great, but it kind of didn't really go anywhere. Kind of like after the first minute and a half, it kind of just like plateaued energetically. And I was like, yeah, this is great, but it's not really done. I don't really know what to do with it. And I was like, let me break this track down, bring it into the dub setup and make a dub of it. And once I did that, it was like, whoa, like this is the sound that I didn't know I was looking for in my music, is to really embrace the dub sound in my own stuff and like break the tracks down and make it dubs. Once I kind of figured that out, the album kind of came together, because like, okay, this is the concept of the album. This is my next album that I wanted to do. This is the direction I want to go. So that's kind of how the album kind of in the end came together.
That song, just as an opener and just in general, is incredible. And can you say the title again? Because it is, when you look at the word, it is tough to pronounce.
The Dub of Suwannee. Yeah, and I might be saying that a little wrong, but it's a city in Morocco.
Okay.
And we were coming up with a name, trying to come up with a name, and the Alejandro, who is the dude with the oud, he visited the city recently, and he really loved his time there. So that's how we came to that name.
I love that little side story there, and how these names come about, and how it aligns with the whole like thematically with the cartographer and map making and the world instruments. I mean, it's just so fucking brilliant, which is why, again, I'm like, ChatGPT, really? Because it's like so on point. From New Orleans, I go to Jazz Fest there every year, and I saw this amazing band from Dubai called Noon, and they were led, the dominant instrument is an oud. So something about an oud in the past month has been like all up in my shit between that track and that band that I saw twice.
Man, I think that we're onto something because I feel the same way. I feel like a band that's oud driven is coming right now.
Yeah, they're here. They're in Dubai. I'm going to send you the record. They're amazing. But there needs to be more. I mean, how many guitar bands are there, right? We can have more than one.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's the next evolution of the guitar craze right now. It's just going to be different guitarists coming to the forefront right now. So I'm trying to, I'm like trying to ride that wave a little bit because it's such a fresh sound to me right now, and I'm just loving it.
Yeah, well, it works on that track, man. It really brings us into a new universe. And then again, I was telling you off the air before we started talking how like I really feel like the roots of the modern sort of electronic music scene that we're a part of, not the sort of mainstream EDM world, but the more like psychedelic West Coast thing is really rooted in sound system culture, which is, rooted in the yard and dubs and reggae and, versions. And so for you to kind of, through your work with Groundation and your deep, deep study of rhythms and understanding like the roots of that music and porting that to making, quote unquote electronic music, in such an organic way. I mean, it's so there in that first track. It just sucks you in. You're like, oh wow, like I said, he's really doing this. And I find the second song similarly is like cut from the same cloth. What's the story behind that one?
Yeah, so the second track is called The Dead Sea Dub, and it's a collaboration with two artists that are French, actually, that I connected with just over Instagram. Kino Duscan, he also plays the oud, funny enough, and he kind of makes this like world reggae dub kind of in the same world as this album. And Jeremy Soule actually sent me his most recent record and was like, yo, you should check this out. I think you would really dig it. And I checked it out. I obviously loved it. And then I noticed that on one of the songs, he actually used the drum break from one of my sample packs, like a drum group. So I was like, oh my God, no way. That's me on drums on this track. So from that moment we connected obviously and been in touch. And, I created this rhythm that is the Dead Sea Dub. It was just kind of like a chord progression bass line and one drop, drum beat, and sent it to him. I was like, hey man, we should make a track together. So, he added his oud lines, which are just incredible. Like such an amazing, so like the melodies on the track are wow, like just super inspiring. And then he also, collaborates regularly with this woman, Yuthi, who plays trumpet and, the accordion. And she's like properly blowing up in Europe right now in the reggae scene. I'm lucky to have had her on the track too through Kino, and she laid down accordion and some solo trumpet, and the track just came together beautifully. So yeah, that's the story of that track, the collaboration with these two French artists. And yeah, I put that as the second track because I really wanted to, in the beginning of the album, I wanted to establish something new for the West Coast, kind of a different sound that I know no one else is really making especially in the DJ world. So yeah, between, the first two tracks, it's really putting you in this exotic, worldly dub universe.
But the third song, you check back in with your listeners of the MORiLLO project. It is a gooey, sexy bass, like psychedelic, much more in alignment from stuff we've heard from you in the past, but still connected to the theme. So was that a conscious thing where you were like, before people like think this whole project is an entirely new identity, I'm going to deliver something a bit more familiar here in the 3 slot?
Yeah, definitely. That was definitely a conscious decision. And I would say that sound that you're, relating to the quote unquote MORiLLO project, it to me is just the fact that the drums are electronic. Literally the drum productions, it's a produced beat. It's not me playing drum kit, which is a great sound. I love the sound. Not only did I want to create this new world, but I did want to have that little anchor point of something that's a little bit more familiar to the kind of music that I've made in the past. And I think having the two sounds together really creates an interesting kind of juxtaposition and a little bit of a flavor that creates a little hybrid electronic acoustic dub kind of sound.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's funny you say, because for me, it was more like the bass, the bass tone that would screamed like OG MORiLLO, but also you're right, drums too. And this what's funny is that like one of the first things that like blew my mind from you was you did like a mashup 3 ways of Peter Tosh and Timberlake and Aaliyah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, so like in that moment, you just like subconsciously check these boxes for me. Those couldn't be 3 more different like things I love from different parts of my life and totally independent of one another. Even Timberlake and Aaliyah being in the same time frame, my love for the first JT record is completely independent of my like standing everything that Aaliyah ever did. But you somehow blended them into this really intoxicating piece of music that was its own thing, yet called back to that. And I almost feel like, that what's the third song called? I'm sorry. The one we're talking
Dub
about.
of the Majestic Sonoma Tree.
Right. Well, you got to tell me about that tree too. What's the title? What's the title about? What's that tree?
The tree. The tree is just this epic, massive, majestic tree that's native to Central America and Mexico. It's one of the largest trees in the world. The title was created by the artist that I collaborated with, Iaka. Who lives down South America and is, big into the medicine world. And, to be honest, he would probably give a better description of the tree. But yeah, it's a native tree to that area, that part of the world that, it's highly regarded by the natives of the area.
I really like how you kind of related these titles in some way to your collaborators' experiences or inspirations or locations.
Wow.
Just you trusting their vision and entitling the tracks, or at least influencing the titles. I think that's a beautiful thing, and also speaks to the type of artist you are as a collaborator, where you're just not like taking their contributions, but giving them a voice beyond their, musical one. Before we wrap, obviously would love for you to talk about any tracks that I didn't ask about, but I also just want to push you in the direction of some collaborators I am really familiar with, Evan Hatfield and Scott Nice. I also know them independent of one another. Scott Nice was my buddy when I lived in Nevada City, Grass Valley for a long time. He really brought like pure turntablism to the like leather and feather burner scene, he's somebody. I remember when he was releasing his record on Jumpsuit, and I got tapped to do a project for that, and it really put me in touch with Scott. So I love that y'all are collaborating. And then Evan Hatfield, I actually remember him from working with Veer McCoy in various projects, even before Dirtwire. Of course, he's like the, brains visionary behind Dirtwire as well. And they couldn't be more different artists, yet there they are, both collaborating with you on this record. So if you're down, talk about those songs with those cats or your relationship. I know you've worked with Evan a bit more extensively.
Yeah, Evan's a good buddy of mine here in LA. He's becoming one of my closest friends, I would say, in LA, and also, we collaborate all the time now. I love his vibe, as a person and as a musician. He's an incredible musician. And growing up, I was always, for whatever reason, drawn to sitar, the sound of the sitar, listening to early like trip hop records like DJ Cam and early Bonobo, using the sitar a lot. I was always just drawn to those tracks with the sitar. So being connected with Evan, later in life, he's just this incredible sitar player, and anytime I've collaborated with him, it's turned into something really special, in my opinion. So yeah, he's just a good buddy of mine that, we've been hanging out a lot and making a lot of music, and he's actually on 2 tracks on this album. One is Nomadic Frequencies, which is the most recent collaboration we've made, and actually it came together really quick. He came over one day and we laid down most of the melodies and everything, and the track was done in a couple days. And then the last track of the album, called The Return of the Dub Cartographer, is another collaboration with Evan. And that track is probably the oldest tune on the record. We made that song, I don't even know, maybe like 3 years ago. And it's kind of just been sitting on my computer, and finally I feel like it just fit, this collection of tunes. Very worldly, very different, sort of dubby. So yeah, those are the 2 tunes with Evan. And then the track with Scott Nice, Move Your Body. Scott Nice and I, we've been more recently connecting more and more. And, we've always been talking about collaborating, and this tune I was working on, and I sent it over to him, and he just laid down some super fun synth lines on top of it. So,
Come on, move your body. Come on, move your body. Come on, move your body.
yeah, that one came together pretty quickly too, and I think all these collaborations, I'm really enjoying collaborating these days, just because, my roots as a musician is a drummer playing in bands. So I really love working with people. And I've been doing my MORiLLO project as a DJ for a long time, and it can be a little isolating as a producer DJ, you know, always making music by yourself. So these days I'm just like really loving working with people and bringing in different talents, and especially with world instruments. There's no, in my opinion, there's no way to recreate the sound of, for example, a sitar, like a software instrument. You got to record that thing, because all the nuance, melodies, and way that you play those things, you just got to record someone playing these instruments, especially with an oud too. So yeah, I'm just really embracing the collaboration aspect of music production with all these people, all these friends.
You stepped into a night called Bajo. This is the master drummer, master producer right here, and he put together this group just for tonight. This is MORiLLO and Friends. Y'all make some noise. I'm gonna need y'all to be part of this. Come on.
One thing you said at the beginning of the pod, I want to come back to for the listeners, that I think it's really remarkable, which is that you say you try not to travel the same, material or recreate stuff like you've done in the past. You're always on to the next thing. I think in music, in pop music, in electronic music in general, except for like really niche subcultures, the name of the game is play it safe. If it's working, continue. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, that's why you see a lot of homogenization of styles or an artist sticking with what works. I find that especially in electronic music, if something blows up, you know, an artist will just remake the same style, the same sound, the same song even. And you're not doing that. In fact, your modus operandi is the opposite of that, which is unsafe. It's a big roll of the dice, not only to fans in general, but to your own fans. When you've established fans that like something specific that you do, and then you bring them something different, you're taking a chance they're not going to stick around. So putting the art first and leading with like your heart and your muse, whatever it sounds like, I just think that deserves respect and you know, recognition. And then also the fact that you likely made the dopest record of your career by following that muse, by rolling that dice, by taking the chance. And then by, you know, talking about it now, I realize what went into it, you know, whether it's random DMs on IG to people on the other side of the world, or cats like Evan and Scott, who I've known in one capacity or another for a decade and can understand where they came from in your music. It's remarkable, dude. It's definitely, I can say it now, it's going to be on my favorites of the year with like,
thank you, man.
100%, man.
Awesome.
And I want my audience to check it out. The link will be in the show notes. Dial it up, whatever your meditation is, whether it was a spliff or a walk around the neighborhood or a workout or a hike, whatever you want to soundtrack. That's your deep meditation. This is the record. The Dub Cartographer, MORiLLO. Thank you, dude. It's such a joy to talk to you. Next time we'll do the whole career. This time we're doing the album. Next time we'll do the whole journey.
Yeah, man, I love that. I feel like I could talk to you for a much longer amount of time, but yeah, I appreciate your time here today and your interest in the album. It feels great.
Right on, man. Well, I wish you the best, and we'll pick it up down the road, man. Much love.
All right, man. See ya.
I want 20s, take it to the bank. Buy a brand new pair of panties. Throw away them grannies and shake your tank like a can of paint. Come on now.
Yes, indeedy. Round 2 on episode 92 takes us to the other side of the USA, out there in the ATL, and AIN'T Sisters. We're going to get the 411 on the Atlanta-based Spirit of Suwannee Music Park faves, Ain't Sisters, Barb, Carbon, and Arrie Bozeman, tapping in from the southeast. A deep chat to discuss their unique connection, the band origin story, their journey, the message, the music, and the incomparable energy native to the Spirit of Suwannee. Real talk, I've been recommended to check these gals out for a good while now from folks in the know, and finally got to see them for a few tunes at Halloween and was impressed. And then their rep Ange hollered, see if I was interested in having them on the pod, and indeed I was, and I am, and today we are. It's cool to finally hear their colorful story, their karmic chemistry, their musical adventuring, their reflections, recollections, straight from the Ain't Sisters' mouths. A little bio action here. Fun, eclectic folk rock, fronted by the deliciously androgynous duo Arrie Bozeman and Barb Carbon. The Ain'ts deliver high-energy performances of their wildly diverse original music, joined by the hardest working man in rock and roll, Richie Jones on the boom chicka thwackada wackada, and Justin Boudreau, aka Boudreamy, masterfully holding down the rhythm section, making everybody swoon with their gorgeous licks. Think Indigo Girls meets Dream Theater with a little bird cloud in the mix. Couldn't have written it any better myself. So yeah, here we go. Shake Your Taint is the tune you're hearing. This is Ain't Sisters. We going in with Barb and Arrie. Episode 92. Yes, indeedy. All right. Well, this one has been a few months in the making, and it is, again, an honor and a privilege to welcome the Ain't Sisters, Barb and Arrie, all the way from ATL. They're touring behind their new record, Atomic. They got a big buzz, the Spirit of Suwannee. I'm hearing about them from all the right peeps. Welcome to the Upful Life podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Hey. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
Hey, I'm stoked to chat it up and get the 411 on a little bit about you and, you know, the origin story, what's happening now, all the stuff between. But first things first, I just want to say congratulations, Barb. I learned on the internet you graduated college like last week. So wanted to say, yeah, congrats.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Where did you go to school?
I started out 26 years ago in New Hampshire at Franklin Pierce College, and then I just went back and graduated from Georgia State University.
Oh, right on. That's
I had a 20-year respite between 9/11 and COVID. So
yeah, the two most like earth-shattering, shape-shifting events of our lives, and like, you know, bookended. It's like my one long fever dream in the middle. Well, congrats, and that's got to be exciting, especially with everything that's going on with the band.
Yeah, it was starting to get stressful there at the end. I was really ready to shift my focus to music, so I'm glad to have gotten the degree, and now I can rock. So
yeah, you're already rocking, but I guess now you can rock with like a plaque on the wall.
A nice little connector to get us up to Strange Creek, which is a festival run by the people who do the Wormtown merch booths. They also have one called Wormtown that is in the fall, and we did that one last year and it went really well. So they're having us back up there to do Strange Creek. So that's like the anchor show for us for this tour.
Oh yeah. Strange Creek is a legendary festival. I remember when I lived in Vermont in the late 90s into the early 2000s, that was going strong then. So that's storied history, and that's pretty cool. You guys got invited up to that.
Yeah. It's a cool spot. It's kind of like they're up there having a party, and it's fun, and everybody is just kind of doing their thing. It's not as like regimented and structured feeling in the ways like it's like, you know, got to be here and there. It's like everyone's just relaxed and having a good time. It's nice.
Does Max Creek still play?
They do. Yep. They're the headliners. I think they're headlining Saturday, maybe and Sunday. I'm not sure on the schedule in front of me, but yeah, they still play up there. And I think we're playing the main stage this year. We played in the cabins, and then on the side stage last time we were up there, and we're playing the main stage on Saturday in the afternoon. So we're looking forward to really getting in front of the full crowd up there. It's a cool crowd. It's like just like really enjoyable, easygoing folks, which is nice. I grew up in New England, and it wasn't like that where I grew up. So it's kind of nice to go to New England and find these hippies out in the woods. It's nice.
It's funny you say that because it was like that for me, but I was coming from like suburban Jersey, going to Vermont and going to like, upstate New York and Western Mass. And those are the people who taught me how to hippie, literally, before I ever got to Suwannee.
Yeah. Yeah. Vermont is the hippie part. I grew up in Connecticut, and that's more like New York adjacent.
Right.
It's a little more uptight.
But interesting to hear you come from Connecticut also, because a lot of musicians in the scene and bands and stuff coming out of Connecticut, of all different kinds. So interesting that you have roots there. Can you just, for the folks less familiar, and even myself, one or both of you, just give us the 411 on the origin story of you two coming together, the project, musical, the coalescing, and then, and just a little bit about like, the early embryonic era of the Ain't Sisters.
The thing that comes to mind for me is like the first time that me and Barb met was at a bar that I was playing open mics and, playing music actually in my first, I hadn't been a performer for very long. I met Holland Gamage at a restaurant that I was working at and started jamming with her and was backing her up at this open mic. And that was how me and Barb met. And it was at this bar, and I was underage at the time and just very shy. And so that was how we met and connected. And then through the years we were playing. Barb was performing at that time. And so Barb was our first show. Was that Eddie's Attic, I want to say? Was that opening for Sonya?
The first really legit thing we did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we had maybe done Job on Monkey or something. There was a coffee shop in downtown Decatur. I think we maybe played there, and maybe played in Fox Mountain, or not Fox Mountain. Swiftwater is the lesbian campground in North Georgia. But yeah, our first show in a real venue, I'm pretty sure it was Eddie's Attic. We were opening for Sonya Lee. So.
Yeah, and then past
that. What year are we talking? Just to place the flagpole,
2004? 2004, I think.
Wow, deep roots.
That I wouldn't have been out of high school then, so it might have been closer to 2006 or 8, but time is weird for me, but yeah, I mean, we go back a long time.
You were a little baby, because I remember when Holland had called me out to the bar. She was like, "Don't ask anybody if how old she is, because she's definitely not supposed to be in here." Yeah. So you were underage for sure.
Yeah, and but I know I was out of high school when I met Holland for sure. So it's maybe 2006 or 7, somewhere in that. Yeah. So, but it definitely, it had a huge, profound impact on my trajectory, just meeting songwriters. And for me, being a side backup person or, more of the guitar player side person, it's always been really cool for me to link up with songwriters and kind of be a support position. And then I started writing tunes, and, there's a bunch of in between. We could go on for probably,
We kind of got disjointed there for a while, because I took off. I ended up on the road working for Michelle Malone as a guitar tech for about 3 years, which took us away from what we were doing. But we were both still being creative in that time. And so she was still doing her thing back on the East Coast. And then I was living in Alabama with Michelle Malone and touring with her. And that was really, I think that was great because Arrie had the chance to work with some really great professional musicians. And she was learning a lot musically. And at the same time, even though I was working behind the scenes for Michelle Malone, I was getting a lot of knowledge about what it's like to be in a touring unit and how to manage a band and how to book and all that stuff. So we were kind of like getting separate educations that would later come together and make us a more effective unit. And then in between times, like I was out on some adventures after I worked for Michelle Malone. I like tried to ride my bike from Connecticut or from Atlanta to Connecticut, my bicycle, and I crashed it in Charlotte. And Arrie just came and picked me up and took me to this one of the little festivals that we used to play. And we like played a set while I healed up because I was all fucked up. And then she drove me back to Charlotte once my bike was fixed and I got on and just kept going. And, so like I was out doing my thing. She was, playing in bands you can talk about yours, but you're like doing luthier school and stuff.
Yeah. I ended up doing all those studies and stuff, but I feel like somewhere in there, we still were playing together here and there, like, yeah. But it's all kind of foggy because, like, when did Boudreaux join the band? Boudreaux's our bass player, and he's been with us the longest.
Yeah. So what I remember is in 2009, a whole bunch of stuff had kind of collapsed in my life. I had lost a job and a girlfriend, a best friend, and my house, like all at the same time. Everything just kind of like fell out for me, and I was staying in my parents' empty house up north of Charlotte, and I was reading Deepak Chopra, and I was all into this like manifestation, law of attraction shit for a minute, and he said like you got to write down what you want, and I was like, I want to follow in Michelle Malone's footsteps. I want to have this badass trio band with Arrie and James Brock or Jim Brock's kid. And we know James. And so it was like, it was something feasible that I could imagine, but underneath it, the book I was reading said, always say this or something better, and so I wrote that and I carried that around in my wallet, and I kind of like forgot about it because I got picked up by Michelle at that point. And then I'm out on the road with her for a few years and I'm on these adventures, and all of a sudden I landed back in Atlanta 2014, and I think Boudreaux had maybe played with us at some private events that we had been at before, but when I fell back into Atlanta full time, he was like right there ready to go. I think it was like, or maybe it was earlier than that. It was 2012, right?
I think so, because me and Boudreaux had made friends somewhere in there at Cherokee Farms, and yes, so
because the Ain't Sisters we became the Ain't Sisters in 2012. Arrie and I as a duo. So I do think it was like 2014 when Boudreaux joined the band. Who did we have at the very beginning? I don't remember.
Jesse was our first drummer for sure. Our first full band show was at Fox Mountain. Definitely with Jesse. I'll never forget that because when Boudreaux and Jesse met, it was in this van that I'm in right now. So, and this is a 2013. Hey, so it must have been 2014. Yeah. So, yeah, my mom was letting us borrow the van. That's right. And they were in the back seat like two peas in a pod, just like, oh, do you know this guy? Yeah, I love that guy. I haven't seen that guy in forever. And then they're like singing Disney songs to each other. It was precious. And then we played a show with a drummer and a bass player. And Jesse is actually on MORiLLO on quite a few of those songs. And we also had Aaron Kaufman play some drums. Richie played a tune on MORiLLO. But yeah, Jesse was definitely our first drummer. Yep.
Don't you know it gets you nowhere, taking people for a ride. We never got you anywhere with me. You just keep on driving till there's no place left to hide. And someday soon, the whole world's gonna see that you're the catalyst. You got things all wrong. Now I'm innocent, and I'm just trying to be strong. We'll watch your waves crash up on broken shores. We take everything like it was always yours.
It's hard to remember. Like we've been doing this so long, and there's been so many iterations and changes over the years. You know, since we weren't as established, it's kind of like our memories are what pieces it all together, and they're all scattered. So if there's not a lot of documentation, I found a binder. I'm moving, and I found a binder the other day that had a bunch of old stuff from maybe 2015, and it had like these little flyers that we did with this our friend Eric, who passed away down in Noonan. And it's like we just looked like little babies, and we were doing duo stuff back then. Jesse went to business school, and so he wanted to focus more on what he was doing over there. And I think that's when John Cowan started playing with us.
Yeah,
he was in a band down here. There was a pretty big band. They were like right on the verge of taking off, called Copious Jones. A lot of our good buds were in that band. And so for us at the level that we were at the point where we got John Cowan in the band, we were like, "Ooh, man, we got John Cowan playing drums for us." It's like we're moving up, you know. And not to say anything, but like it's just like the name of Copious Jones and because Jesse was a fantastic drummer. He was a punk rock drummer, and he made us rock. It's just having that that John Cowan name in the band, and he's a steady drummer. He did a great job for us. And then he was with us until COVID hit, and his girlfriend is a nurse, and so she got picked up for like COVID travel nurse work, and she had to go to California, so they picked up and left. And I mean, at that point, we weren't playing much music anyway because it was COVID and there wasn't anything to do. But for the interim, our buddy Mikhail had a friend named Key, and he was like a church drummer. And that guy slammed. He was a great drummer, but I'm not sure that he ever fully vibed what we were doing. Like he would do it, but like he played with us for almost a year, and like I feel like he didn't know the names of the songs. You know, it was just like he was great. He was showing up and doing a great job at the shows, but it wasn't the best. It wasn't a family yet. And then when he decided to part ways, or we decided to part ways, we had our buddy Radley play with us for a couple of shows, and that was fun. But Radley teaches drums all the time, and he didn't have full-time availability. And so Richie stepped up and played a couple of shows with us, and I think we asked him if he would mind if we used his picture in the on the web ads for Suwannee, and he was like, "Yes, I'll be in your band." We were like, "Okay, cool."
Yeah, that's the unit right now, and couple keyboard players. Ian Quinn was playing with us a lot, and he went on the road with Susto, and then Damien Cabcala from Frankly Scarlet was playing with us for a bit, and we ended up just like needing to keep the direction of the 4-piece just so that we can be that gel, like that core unit, and we love jamming with Steve Cunningham, and like, we're always down to collaborate. That's Steve's on the album, Ian's on the album, Damien's on the album. John Maylander's never been in the band, but he's on the album, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Maybe then I'll be free. I wanna be free. Take chemicals, the echo calls, the echo calls. These kids are turning and they're grinding my teeth. Rocking my teeth. I'm a fireball, maybe burning my own feet. Seems I'll never be free. I wanna be
Danny Whiteanis at Ghost Note. Yeah, Boudreaux and him are buds, and so Danny Whiteanis did all the horns that you're hearing on the record. So
yeah, I was gonna say the horns are killing. And how do you do that live? Because I could see how the marrow material, which, you know, is, it's like, you know, on a situation where you can imagine a 4-piece playing that music. But like I said, on Atomic, on that album, like the songs sound so different and you hear horns and keyboards and it's got everything from like punk rock to jam stuff. So how do you approximate all those parts on the record? Or do you just kind of play like because I've only seen you like that one afternoon at Suwannee before Bob Weir.
Barb started in with pedals. Like she started doing some effects and things like that. And that inspired our bass player Boudreaux to do that too. So it's like trying to fill in the space of even just the keyboard with some of the like synthy stuff that they've got going on. And I'm very rudimentary on like my board and sounds and stuff. I'm more like in that kind of just a regular couple distortions and delay. And so being able to make those bigger sounds and create the arrangement, stuff is just something that we're continually working on. And like at Suwannee, I think maybe we played one song off the record. I can't exactly remember the set list, but it's like, since a lot of that record was like songs that, I mean, Jamz, the like super theatrical one in the middle, that was like one of my first favorite Barb songs when I met her. So that's from like a long time ago. Yeah.
That song is 20 years old.
Right.
Yeah. And we should mention that, you know, that song started out as just kind of it had like a folky beginning and then like a rock, like changed to a rock song in the middle. But I sent it down, or we sent it down to Danny J of Tire Fire, and her husband Adam, and Justin Davis also of Tire Fire, and they put those strings together, and all I said to them was Gotham City. Like, this is dark. Run with that. And I didn't really give them much direction. And they sent back like a little MIDI track. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool. But it's MIDI, you know, it doesn't sound like the final product. You just like, I mean, I like what that sounds like. And you know, I just had to trust, because Danny is so creative and talented, and she's got such a vision. And Justin is like a savant, you know. And so like, I was just like, I know it's going to come back. I was like, yeah, I'm like, the MIDI sounds cool. I know it's going to sound cooler. And, you know, when you guys do it, just send it. And so I never even really got to hear it in the context of the music until it was done. And I was like, holy shit. Like, it sounds exactly the way it sounded in my head. They did such an incredible job on that song. And that, I would say that's the one that we're still working out how to translate it into a live show, just because it does have that dynamic. And then Damien Kapkala did the really cool, creepy kind of Elfman piano shit at the end, you know, and it's just really, it's hard to translate that. That's like a lot of work for Arrie, because I don't really necessarily have the skill set to pull off like what that would translate to on guitar. So she's trying to do that and do backup vocals, and it's a lot. But we're gonna work it out. We always do.
I appreciate that breakdown. That was really insightful. Just to hear like the journey of a 20-year song from the beginning to something so, like you said, theatrical and like a centerpiece of a set on such a huge day, in such a special place. And, you know, I couldn't help but notice when I was doing research and just go on YouTube that you have major love affair with Spirit of Suwannee Music Park. Like, you play multiple events there. You have like your own little festival family base there. I noticed that people were there like noon on Sunday, and on the big stage, you know, in the heat. And then when you watch the videos from like Reunion and stuff, like, it's jamming. So, you know, Suwannee's a huge part of my life, and my wife, we met there, got married there, got engaged there. A lot of my professional life started there. So I'm curious, like, how did you guys get first invited to Suwannee? And I'd love to hear like your individual reflections on such a special place to like just do your thing and be so embraced.
She beat me to Suwannee, and so I heard, you know, she wound up going down there with the gal that I believe it was Amanda Gardner that got her down there, but I could be wrong. She'll tell you later. But Amanda did the artwork for both Marrow and Atomic. So she did like the shots of the dogs and stuff like that. Was it Amanda that brought you down to Suwannee first?
Oh, we're going back to my story? Yeah. Well, yeah, actually, it was Jason Ailboard, our buddy Jason. I think he knew someone who had an extra early bird ticket, and he was trying to convince me to come down there. I was like, man, like, I don't know. Like, I don't really, those festivals or whatever. And he was like, you're going to love it. Just shut up and come down. It's like $130. And I was like, all right. So I did. I came down, but when I was pulling in, like right when I was pulling in, Amanda saw me, and she had totally absconded with me. I think I saw Jason like twice that whole time I was down there. So, and it was great. Like, so I looked around and I'm like, wait a minute. I know like half the people here. Like, it's obviously a cool spot. Like, all my buds are already down here. So,
yeah. So Barb beat me there, which is great because she went down and like, you know, got her songs heard by, you know, Jim Lauderdale. And I think he was the one that was like, where's Barb at or where? Anyways, so she's got this whole story, but she went and made a name. And like, for her 40th birthday party, I cut my hair to look like her album cover. And then I went to Suwannee and people kept mistaking me for Barb. And so it was just this like really hilarious, like for me, that introduction in that way, was super fun. And like, I was going to play with like Ralph Roddenberry and, you know, Donna Hopkins, invited us to, jump up for a piece of her set. I think, right? We went down there with Donna and Ralph, and
the trajectory was like we went down the first time, and I ended up jamming with Donna the Buffalo and Jam. Haystack brought us out there. That's important to me. Like our buddy Haystack, who passed away, he was the one. He caught me in the middle of the field wandering around with a guitar, and he's like, "Hey, get on my golf cart. I know where you want to be." And he drove me out to George's camper, and we threw down with all those guys. And then the next time we came down, Donna pulled us up for a couple of songs, and I know that Paul saw us at that point. I remember standing side stage with Paul afterwards, and he mentioned Halloween at that point. Like, I mean, that was like the first time we'd gotten on stage there, and Paul's over there just like, we should have you guys down sometime. I was like, that would be cool.
Understand, baby. No need to worry. No need to cry. Beside, darling, you're the reason why. 'Cause I would die for you. Only if you want me to. I would die for you.
And I was like half a bottle of someone's homemade barley wine drunk at like 5 a.m. in Slopperyland at the Jamz late night. And all of a sudden I felt this like presence come up over my shoulder, and everybody's like, oh my God. And it's Jeb Purrier. And he's like, hey, do you want to play the closing set with us tomorrow? And I was like, holy shit. Yeah. And I like went to sleep immediately and still woke up drunk. And like, we like barely pulled that off, but we got to play with them on the main stage. And I think that's probably where Beth Judy saw us playing. And I think that helped us to, you know.
was I there the first time you were up on the?
I think you came out and sang with me. You were just singing backups.
I was in the fucking, I don't know what to do with like
hat or something like that.
Oh my God. I forgot about that. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, you had like a Viking helmet on or something.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where like you think that this is like a once in a lifetime experience, and you're trying to take it all in, and you're like, holy crap, we're on the amp stage at Spirit of Suwannee. What the hell is going on? And then the next time you go back down there, they call you up again. And then all of a sudden you're getting offers to actually, did you tell him why we got pulled? Because your guitar. Did you tell him about that?
Oh yeah.
That was our key.
So I'm like, I've got a pretty strict rule that I don't party until after I've done my job, because I can't really handle my shit, if we're being honest. So like, you know, I don't do anything until Sunday night. So Sunday night, I'm like, bucked up as a basketball racket in the woods doing the thing that we like to do late night. And Scott Basic comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, bud, your guitar case is empty for your electric guitar." And I was like, "Oh no," "Oh no," like it's the production people party at that point, right? Because everybody else has had to be pro and now they're getting to pick the party. So all the production people were like helping us to find my guitar. And what had happened was after our set, we've got stagehands and people helping us out. And my guitar, I had just pulled it down off the stage and kind of stuck it off to the side because I had to go get my things. And so the guitar never made it into the case, but the case made it into the car. So I've got like a Gibson case and no guitar, and all the production guys are like talking to each other. And finally it ends up that it was Ding Ding was like the last guy. Doug, I guess, was like not sure what to do with the guitar, knew that it needed to go somewhere, but didn't want it to get locked in the office. Because we're talking about like Monday morning. So he didn't want it to get locked up and us not be able to get it. So he took it and was just holding on to it. Because he didn't want it to get locked up. He took it off site. And so that was a big thing. And like, but then he like came and met me, on my way out with the guitar. But it was just funny because it was all the production people like teaming up, like, we're gonna find it, like,
And weren't you at one point, weren't you in Susan's office or something? And like,
wait, maybe I was like playing like I was you. No, I wasn't doing anything like that, but I was trying to like blame it on you because people get us confused all the time. I'm like, but yeah, it must have been Barb. Anyways, so, yeah, but it was a whole thing. That was
just put us on the radar. Like everybody on production suddenly knew who we were because they were desperately trying to help Arrie find that guitar. And so when our names started floating around, production was all like, "Hell yeah, we know them and we love them."
Yeah, that's a great story and funny, and at least has a happy ending.
Well, and it's all that place. Like Suwannee is beautiful, and it's so like I'll go there literally pretty much anytime I'm asked. Like by anybody. If I can, I'll be there. Like,
yeah. I mean, preaching to the choir. A lot of Suwannee talk on this pod. Paul's been on this show telling phenomenal stories. One of which, he'll have you know that Donna the Buffalo is the artist that has played the park most.
Yep.
They have
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, but it's kind of an unknown fact. People think, like Lettuce or George Porter or the Allman Brothers, but it's it's Down to the Buffalo by like 30 shows.
Oh yeah. But they're the headliners for Roots and Spring every year, and they play like 3 or 4 sets. So yeah, I mean that adds up. That makes sense to me. The only other band that I would think maybe is like right behind them is like Grass is Dead or something, because I feel like they're down there working their butts off every time too.
Yeah, there's different universes between the Bear Creek Halloween, like Annals of History, the Wani world, and then like the Pickin', Spring Fest and Mag Fest and now Reunion and so forth. There's like different heritages, but it's the same place and the same energy and the same like, familial spirit, which is why like we keep going back. I live in Oakland, California. I still go to Suwannee 2-3 times a year. Like I said, we got married there. And the reason I was able to make your set, which, it was an early set for the last day of hula, was my friend was giving like a talk immediately after you were done. Like it's at like the Oasis camp tents and like just beyond the meadow. And so, caught, 20, 30 minutes of y'all. And then he gives this talk about the history of the land, of the park, like what it was 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, 300 years ago, 100 years ago, when the Cornets bought it and how it's evolved through Festival Nation. So yeah, it is a really unique place. And the fact that, they used to have those Sunday night parties at Bear Creek, they called them stafter parties. You'd have to be invited. It would be, in the early days, it was at the treehouse, and the, band would play right outside the treehouse, and all the artists that were still around from the weekend. And that's just a special thing. And to be inducted into that is like a real honor, and it speaks to like what y'all are doing and like who you are as musicians and as humans. There's a lot of great bands that come through Suwannee. They're not all like brought into the bosom of the family. So I think that that's something to be really proud of, and that for my listeners should know, like the AIN'T Sisters are part of the fam. Like everywhere I go, people are telling me about you guys. You know, Shay was the first person to make sure that I checked you guys out. And her and our story is magical too. She's in the photograph of me proposing on the rail at Jamiroquai. Yeah, right there amongst many other people, but she is right there amongst our friends and all the people on the rail. And we're like years later, this was in 2018. So I want to say like the first hula after the pandemic. She stopped me and Alicia right there in the park and was like, "Hey, you don't know me, but I was right there when you got engaged and I'm in your photograph," and pulled out the phone and there she was. And that's how we became friends. So then, you know, we've seen each other around for years since then. And she hit me up and she's like, "Hey, and I got to make this recommendation and be important to me. And I think you'll dig it." And it was you guys. And then Chris Hall, same thing. Chris Hall was like, "Yo, B, I need you to check out the AIN'T Sisters. It's important." And
that's the porch I'm on. She says, "Hey, by the way."
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Yeah, perfect. So all that to say, like, you got endorsements from people I really care for and respect.
This new American dream. In this house, we believe in science. We believe that love is love. We don't care which God you pray to. Namaste. Everybody can be part of this new American dream. Something tells me it's not what it seems. Is this all it's cracked up to be? This new American dream.
I wanted to kind of just ask about that day, about playing hula right before Bob Weir and String Cheese, and just, you know, take us through what that was like a band like y'all being a part of one of the most historic days in Suwannee history.
I gotta just say that hula was my first time at Suwannee, was a Hulaween, and it's the one that you're talking about with Jamiroquai. That festival is bonkers. I mean, it's so crazy. It's so crazy. And like people were telling me the whole time, because I'm like trying to find the jams, and I did, and I had a fucking blast. But like people were telling me, they were like, "Man, you got to see this place without the cattle gates, man. You got to like come back." And I was like, "Oh, I'm in." Like, and so being up on that stage, first of all, is the hottest thing I've ever experienced. I thought my guitar was going to melt like at sound check. The nerves, for me, I have horrible stage fright. So it's like, you know, being on that stage, and then my guitar melts during sound check, and I'm like all out of tune and off time. It was so crazy in that way. But like just being there and leading up to that, honestly, getting the phone call for that, like, getting the phone call for that. I was on the phone with my girlfriend whenever we got the text, the messages about it. I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and I just like lost my shit. Like, you know, I'm like laying down in my driveway because I'm like probably crying and like laughing. And then three-way call with Boudreaux. Boudreaux was calling me, and like, you know, we're like so excited. And then I think you ended up getting on the phone, Barb. You know,
well, you called me, and I was in the car with Chris Hall. And
yeah.
And so I answered on the speakerphone, and you told me, and we were like,
yeah. Yeah.
The fact that you got that even before you played it speaks volumes Because I just, I'm on some text chains with Paul and Berg, and I know what goes into when they program a stage, and I know how important that was to begin with, and then to have the fucking atomic bomb, no pun intended, of Phil dying 2 days earlier, it just became the most sacred day. And I'm not even like a cheese guy whatsoever, but I was really blown away by the way they just like rose up with Bob and was able to do that. To be the artist that set the tone for that day. It's like just such a crazy honor.
What do you want me to do to watch for you while sleeping? Please don't be surprised when you find me dreaming too.
Well, before I forget about it, the other thing is that we had just put out a single on that Friday.
I like that.
Put out a single. It's a single that's not on the album. It was just a standalone single. It's called Beyond the Blue. It's like the lead out line is, all my friends are gone and now I'm going to the place beyond the blue. And I wrote it the night that Justin Townes Earl died. But I wrote it partly about him and like the people that I knew who had played with him, who I knew were hurting. And then I'm just generally thinking about this industry and how hard it is on people. And our friend Brad, who was on our first record playing harmonica, he was passing away, and he was pretty close to that blue place at that point. And so I was thinking about him. And so I had written this song about, losing these beautiful people around us, and all the ways that they get taken from us. And we put that out on the Friday leading into Hula, and it wasn't on the set list because it's kind of a slow thing. We were trying to come out rocking and show our stuff, like Hula vibe, right? And then Phil dies, and we were so nervous. We rushed through our set, and everything was like a couple BPM too fast. And so we finished, and we looked over at Paul, and we had time for one more, and we're like, let's fucking play Beyond the Blue for Phil, And so that was intensely emotional.
All my friends are gone. Now I'm going to the place beyond, the place beyond. Some of them took the midnight train. Some of them took too much cocaine. Some of them just got sick and they never came home. Now I'm sitting here on my front porch all alone. I don't like the way I feel. I just wish none of this was real. It's the hardest truth, the hardest hurt to heal. So I'll pack my bags tonight and I'll be gone before daylight to the place beyond, the place beyond, to the place beyond, the place beyond.
And it was clear that it was like for the occasion, but I had no idea it was brand new, never played before, nor that it was about something so directly in alignment with what everyone was feeling and experiencing. That's like the magic of the park, the magic of music, and as a healing, grieving, and then also just like looking over and having Paul be there to like give you the nod, like do it. You know what I mean?
And and you missed the beginning of the set, but just to have Paul come out and introduce us in the way that he did. And I'm like trying not to cry right now, but like, he came out and he really introduced us as family and as, a band that is doing something. Cause like we're doing what we do the best that we can do it. And we're trying to get better at it all the time. But, there's a million amazing technical musicians out there and really fabulous poets and songwriters who do what we do, and there's a magic that is necessary for a band to really take off and to have the longevity that only a few bands that I know of have. And what that really comes down to is the people who listen to the music and the relationships that they have to the music, to us as humans, and to each other, and like there's that community around our music. And Paul came out and introed us, and he spoke to that, and that's really, I think that is the magic that we have as a band, is the energy and the community that surrounds what we do. And everywhere we go, I mean, we just had a show a couple nights ago, and it's our hometown crowd, and you look out and it's just a love fest. Everyone is hugging each other. Everyone, like, they're listening to the music, but in between they're like catching up with each other. It's a homecoming. That's our hometown crowd. But you go to Jacksonville, Florida, it's the same way. Tampa, it's the same way. Charlotte, it's the same way. It's just like, it's always a homecoming in that crowd. And that energy that they have and the love that they're sharing. And I remember watching the interview on, I'm not sure what show it was, but the Grateful Dead interview that they did fairly recently. And they were talking about the dragon. And it's like the energy that's floating above the crowd and the exchange that's going on.
Yeah. Well, the audience would give us energy. They give us love, and we would play with it. We turn that into music, and we'd sort of, articulate it and give it back to them. Then they'd turn around and give that back to us, and it was self-perpetuating.
It was a Mobius strip. Yeah, you did something really unusual,
and that is present so often when we play, and I can feel it on stage. I can feel when that is happening, because the vibe just rises, and I feel like even if we're not like hitting every note right, or hitting like every, like we could be screwing up left and right, but that vibe is there, and everything lifts, and everyone's having the time of their life, and the world isn't present. There's no more bullshit. And that is the magic that comes with doing what we do when we're doing it for the right reasons.
But I'm never ever gonna give up. I'll never give up. I'll never give up. I'm never ever gonna give up.
Yes, indeedy. I want to thank Barb and Arrie, Ain't Sisters. That was fun. Really like those gals. Looking forward to seeing them somewhere live in the not too distant future. Same goes for the homie Zach Morillo, the Dub Cartographer. Such a yin-yang episode. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just throwing stuff at the wall, see if it sticks. You know what sticks? This Chief Kaya, No More Tears, dubstep rework, Tidra Moses, Oaktown baby. But I'm getting way off the reservation now. Like we always do about this time, the Vibe Junkie Jamz. And I'm keeping it simple. We heard all about the Dub Cartographer, so I'm going to play a collab between MORiLLO and Peace Sign called Tribal Dub from 2024, one of my favorite psychedelic spiritualized bass tracks from last year. And then I was trying to pick a Ain't Sisters tune to lace y'all with, and I just stumbled upon a single song that I don't know the name of that is from our wedding day, which took place at Spirit of Suwannee Music Park on November 11, 2022. And since we talked a lot of Suwannee, and, it's my anniversary, I figured, what the fuck? We're going to play that. So it's AIN'T SISTERS 11/11/22, and it just says the word Treehouse. I don't know if that's the tune or the venue, but that's how we doing it. And that'll wrap it up for episode 92 of the Upful Life podcast. I want to say goodbye and God bless. Keep living your Upful life. I'll see y'all on the dance floor somewhere out there. Yes, indeedy.
We're gonna make a bunch of noise for the AIN'T Sisters, y'all.
Set you free.